All right. So now that we've got these base colors going on here, we can actually start to do some sculpting, right, to make this guy not look so flat and what have you. So what we're going to do is I'm switch back over to my sculpting tools and go to my layers, and I'm going to go to sculpting layers. So first, first what I'm going to do, I'm just click here, just so I have that tool selected. Okay, so first what I want to do is just kind of explain roughly what we're going to be doing. So it's a little bit different. Go ahead and save too. It's a little bit different than what we did in the past, okay? So right now, if I hit page up and page down, you're going to see it's not going to do anything. But if you hit Shift D, it's going to subdivide the model. You see the geometry. Now when I hit page down, it'll go to level 0, level 2, okay? And if I hit page up, nothing, page down, goes down there, okay? Now, if I hit Shift D again, it will add another subdivision level, okay? So I can go up and I can go down, okay? And that's more or less what we're going to be doing. So before, in order to get detail, and what we were doing before was we were doing the Sculpt Tools, and you're going to want to do this for all of them. Make sure they're on Mirror X, and make sure you turn the tessellation off. Before, we were tessellating the model, which means as we were sculpting, it would create the geometry necessary in order for it to create the details or add things or whatever that we needed, which worked really well when you're trying to rapidly model something, but it's not so great. The resulting mesh isn't good enough for video games or film or whatever, right? It's not a production-ready model. So it works good when you're first just trying to make the model, but you can't actually utilize it. What we're going to do now instead is we're going to subdivide the model, which will add more geometry, and then we can sculpt the upper subdivision levels, right? So we can sculpt at this high res. Well, this isn't even that high, but we can sculpt at a really high res model, which if I hit W, you can see how it is subdividing it. I can sculpt at the higher res model, and then when we're happy and we know it, then we can go ahead and we can lower the resolution, and we can bake the high res details onto the low res model. But this will be the final output is actually going to be this guy here. So that's the idea, is that we do subdivision now instead. And you're going to find that it's going to be able to handle higher poly counts because it doesn't have to dynamically tessellate the model as we're going. It's also going to result in better detail and less imperfections and weirdness. It's going to work a lot better, okay? Now, the thing is, it's also based on the geometry you have. So if you look, my geometry is relatively clean. Like I said, I don't really like this area, and there's some other things I don't like too. But it's not terrible. Okay, so, but yours might have, like, a lot of your guys' hands are a bit wonk, so that might become a problem as well. Also, like I said, you have to turn tessellation off. You're going to have to do that for all of them. So all of your brushes, like bulge as well, make sure that tessellation is off, okay? We don't want that anymore. Now, it is entirely possible to sculpt. I could hit, don't do this, I'm showing you. I hit page up, I'm going to turn the wireframe off. It's entirely possible to sculpt right on this, and we could sculpt and do whatever, right? Let me make this a little bit more big, but we could sculpt and do stuff, okay? But whatever you make is just stuck there. You can't do anything with it. So what's actually a better way of working is this. I want you to go down to level 1, okay? And if you go over here, we can make a layer, okay? So make sure on level 1, and then click on this. And what I want you to do is just type in silhouette. That's not right. Silhouette. That's right. Anyways, type in silhouette and spell it correctly if you can help it. Silhouette. What this allows me to do now, since this is on a layer, watch this. Okay, I can sculpt. And like, I can turn off and on its visibility. I can take it and, fade it in and out. I can also trash it if I don't like it. Or you can even do this. We haven't been able to use this before. I can use this eraser and just erase off that. Since it's tied to a layer, I can only just get rid of it that way. Okay? So we can do instead is actually sculpt to 2 levels. But be aware, watch when I hit page down. See how it turns into no smoking? That means that once you start sculpting on a level, because watch, if I go page up to 2, I'm on 2, see how? See how there's a 1 here? Once you start sculpting on that level, it's tied to that level. Like whatever sculpting you're doing is on that level. So What we want to do is create broad silhouette changes on this first level because it's a lot easier to manipulate the model if there's not a bunch of geometry on there. It's a lot easier to kind of make those changes here. And then, then what we do is we will go up a higher subdivision level, create a sculpting layer for that, add things that are a little bit smaller in detail, and then go up to higher, smaller in detail until we get to the point where it's like we're creating follicles, like just really tight details. Okay, that's basically the goal. So we start broad, and then we will work our way more and more specific. Okay, so for the silhouette, we honestly shouldn't have to do too much. I'm just going to use the grab here, and I'm just going to grab and manipulate and just push things that I feel like need to be pushed a little bit more and kind of go from there. So I'm thinking his chest could probably be up a little bit, so I'm just going to grab this and maybe pull this out a little bit. Maybe slim down the tum-tum just a little bit. You definitely could use a little more of, a little more butt action going here. I just feel like his butt is a little bit flat. One of the things you're going to notice that, if you have any experience with Maya, or really it's not Maya specific, but if you have any experience with 3D software, you're going to notice that whenever you subdivide the model, you lose volume. So like his butt lost quite a bit of volume there. Let's give him a little bit of a butt tuck, I guess. All right, and then I think that the sides here could use a little bit more. I'm going to use bulge here. Use a little bit more cap. You see, like I feel like it needs to be a little bit stronger here. It's a little bit better. Just feels a little thin right in that area to me. Right, and then we'll just kind of smooth that out a little bit. I really should have fixed these shoes too, but I'm going to sculpt, just regular old sculpt, and we'll do this one. And I'm just going to, let's say, make this a little bit smaller and just try to, that's way too much. Didn't realize how strong I had that thing on there. Let's bring that down a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and just try to make this a bit more shoe-like. Let's smooth that out. Okay, let's fill this up a little bit so it's a little bit more like a shoe. So I'm just going to brush over and over and over and over and over, and then I'll just smooth that out. I'm just trying to fill this up a little bit because it feels a little bit not shoe-like. It feels very sock-like. So this should be flat, especially in this area. So I'm just trying to, and I'm just going to draw a little bit. Just trying to make this a little bit flatter, if you will. Make it look a little bit more as a shoe, and then just smooth the results so that it's not so rough. This isn't even really that as broad as like the things you should be doing at this moment, but I'm just gonna, there we go, that's a little better. Smooth that out. Okay. But just go through and make, any large adjustments that you kind of need to in order to get it to look a little bit better for you. So let's go to grab. I feel like this could be maybe a little bit more pronounced. All right. Feels a little bit not as big as it ought to be. All right. Call that good enough. All right. So just make general adjustments to the silhouette. So kind of what you've already should have done. You really shouldn't have to do too much for this. But, do what you can. Okay. So next what I'm going to do is start sculpting the next section. So this is without it, with it. You can see I didn't do really all that much. Mostly booty. Mostly booty, booty, booty. Let's bring that down a little. It's a little too bootylicious, if you will. Okay. So anyway, we got that going on. Next what I'm going to do is go ahead and I'm going to go up. I'm at I think I have a level above, so let's hit page up. Yep. So is this good enough to start doing kind of the next level? Let me see. I'm going to go to my bulge. Oops. So look, see how I hit N and see how it's doing this? So there's obviously still tessellation on that. So, oh no, there's not. I guess it didn't really. Okay. Let's see. So you can see that there is not enough. There's too much there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to Shift. Man, I want to go to this level. I'm going to do one more level up, which is 196,000, which is probably a little bit high, but I'm going to go up one more, and I'm going to hit a new layer. I'll make a new layer on that. So I'm on level 3. It's going to depend on your model. So your model might be more detailed, less detailed, that sort of thing. But I'm going to go up another level, and we're just going to say broad. Let's call it broad. This will be our broad strokes. We're going to more or less put like anatomy and that sort of things in here, where it's stuff that is going to affect the silhouette. But it's not going to be so much so that it is like it's not changing the character design, right? Like character design changes should be in here. Like if the guy's got a huge chest and small head, or he's got like big arms and tiny legs or whatever, that would be more of a silhouette thing. Now what we're doing is we're working within that silhouette and sort of breaking it up inside of it. Okay. Now the way I suggest that you kind of lay this out is use bulge for like musculature anyway. I'm just going to do the arm here so you can see it. Do bulge for the arm, and I'm going to use this fall off. Make sure that these are all off, so you just have this fall off. And I'm going to use that in bulge. And then for sculpt, I'm going to go here with this one. And then we'll actually go ahead and invert, so I don't have to hold control. Oops, control C, I meant to hold B. And that way this will cut in, and when I use bulge, that will push out, okay? Bulge is really good for kind of filling an area. Like you can kind of see it here, how it does a little bit different than what Sculpt does. So this will be good for kind of musculatures and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and more or less kind of draw out his muscles. So let's go a little bit bigger than that. Let's undo that one. All right, so I'm just going to kind of draw his deltoids here. All right, so you get kind of an idea of what we're doing. And also hold Shift to kind of smooth that out. All right, and then we'll kind of draw out his bicep here. And hold smooth to smooth that out. Be a little bit closer there, okay? And then underneath, I'm going to go ahead and we will make that a little, well, probably keep it the same actually. And we'll do the tricep here, which kind of goes around the elbow, right? And then we'll do the other side of the tricep here. Let's make this bigger. Okay. So let's make that a little bit more pronounced. Okay, like that. You can kind of see, I'll just do, oops, that was V. A little bit of an elbow here. Whoops. Stay on bulge, please. And I'm just gonna, let's make that a little bit bigger. There we go. And just smooth that out just to show like kind of that tendon coming into it. So you can kind of see. All right. Let's make sure that this looks like it is indeed coming to here. Right, just smooth that out. All right. Fill this in a little bit. You want to make sure you're going along with the striations of the actual muscle, right? And then what I can do is use this sculpt, and I already have it on this cutting in one and this invert function, so I don't have to hold control, which is usually what we do for invert, and I can kind of use that if I want to, you know, further try to push inwards, like to draw out my lines and stuff. All right, so if there was like more striations I wanted to cut in there, I can do that by, you know, doing that there. So like right here, this should be cut in. That's better. Smooth that out a little. Okay. Smooth that down a little. I use smooth, just kind of push things down. So you kind of see, right? It's got kind of a little bit of muscle. The number one thing I would tell you to do, like I said, so use bulge and sculpt. The other thing to do is this. So I know muscles, honestly, I wasn't even looking at this. I like the way this guy's stomach area looks, though. I mean, mine's the wrinkliness and too many veins. These guys are just too big. Like, that doesn't work. But I looked up bodybuilders. So look up, you know, depends on what you're doing. But, you know, if you're doing like a goth-looking kid or something, then look up like goth-looking kid. Or if the person's wearing a sweatshirt, look up a sweatshirt. Or if it's a preppy person, make a preppy person. You know, look up what you're looking for. You know, whenever I make a character, like even it's supposed to be realistic or what have you, and it's a made-up character, I will base them off of some sort of celebrity or something. And the reason why I use a celebrity is that way I will look at their face. There's so many photos of them from different angles and all the different places and different like expressions. I can use those celebrities' faces for my person's face. You know what I mean? At least as a base. And then from there, I can go and do the rest of it. But you're a lot better off trying to sculpt using, I have it on my other monitor. So you're a lot better off trying to use some reference because for one, it'll make it more realistic because you'll be looking at the actual thing. But also because it will force you to try and match it. You'll learn more from it than trying to just, willy-nilly yourself into whatever you want, okay? Now, the other thing is, too, so I'm doing muscly stuff, but the stuff I'm doing right now, this would go, let's say he's wearing a sweatshirt, right? I mean, I literally would just do the exact same thing. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So you would just, draw your sweatshirt wrinkles here, right? And then you would, whatever they are, you would just do the same basic process of making it look like they're wearing a shirt, all right? Same thing I'm doing here. It's just my guy's got muscles there, so it's a little bit more obvious. He's obviously not wearing a sweatshirt, so I'm going to take this all off. Okay, so that's what you are basically looking for. That's a little stark. Yeah, you're just going to go through and more or less just try to sculpt the musculature and what have you in this sort of on level 3-ish because you can see it's still not, this should be this and then down. So like this isn't even as good as it should be. So like it should be a little bit more, like a little bit more filled in this area. See, like that. Okay. And then you can see underneath, I didn't really do much here, so this needs a little bit more. And then there's actually a muscle that comes brachialis and all that. But anyways, what I want you to do more or less is try to just sculpt. I'm not going to sit here and sculpt all of it in front of you because that's not going to be, you don't want to probably sit here and watch me. You should just be doing it on your own, okay? But more or less just, fill in the areas. And then I would just make sure that you're trying to use as much as reference as you're using. Also be sure, I don't mean to do that. Ooh, well, that's kind of cool. I didn't know there's these different blend modes. All right, let's go to the paint here. Where blend, here it is. Let's put this back to normal. Oops. I hit Shift W instead of W. But keep an eye on your wireframe and make sure that you're following, the lines of your wireframe as well if you can help it. So I want to make sure this follows this where it is. So just W back and forth to make sure that you're doing what you're trying to do. Okay? But yeah, that's basically it. So I'll probably sculpt just the kind of broad muscle thing that you're seeing here. And then in the next video, we will, we'll start working on the details and such. All right?